So, good afternoon, and my name is Chanel. This is the host of Black Hippie Lounge, and today we have a special guest. Um, she's going to introduce herself, but before we get started, um, before she gets to introduce herself, I just wanted to say that yeah, we have a special guest, and she's going to introduce us to something that is going to be new to me and hopefully new to listeners as well. So I'm very excited to have you on. So, Cherae, do you want to introduce yourself and kind of let listeners know a little bit about you?
Sure, sure. I'm Cherae, and I am a sacred somatic sex coach and a independent published author. And that's just a little bit about what I do.
Thank you. All right, Sheree. So, um, can you just tell listeners a little bit about, well, you already told a little bit about yourself, but how did you discover the podcast?
Wow, Spotify.
Mhm.
I was listening to another podcast, and I'm always looking for um, uh, podcast wellness and in the health and spirituality that are hosted by Black women. And so I came across yours
Mhm.
through some rabbit hole of swiping and searching. And
Yeah.
that's how I came across. And I really loved, I listened to the podcast about evolution and eliminating and um, how on that journey we have to let go to grow. And I was like, yeah, I want to reach out to her. So that's how
Yeah.
I came across. So rabbit hole on Spotify.
Okay. Okay, nice. Thank you. I'm glad you reached out. So, um, let's get into some questions. So, you are a certified somatic pleasure and power coach, right? Can you
Yes.
share with listeners what that means and the work that you do?
Sure. What that means is so first, the word somatic starts with the word soma, which means body. And what I do is I help women embody sexual energy, up level their sexual energy, heal their wombs, their yonis, their pelvic floors, so that they can experience tremendous pleasure, but then you use that pleasure to manifest, use that pleasure to heal their entire bodies, use that pleasure um, to heal their generational lines um, in both directions. So I've been in this space for since about 2006 is when I started my journey. But yeah,
Wow, that's a long time. So, what made you get into this work and what steps did you take into becoming certified? What type of training and education did you have to do?
sure. So what got me into this work was my spiritual and health path started in college, probably in around '05, '06. And yoga was my first introduction onto this path. And um, I was always really interested in more of the mystical aspects, the spiritual aspects of yoga versus just the asana, just the physical practice. And also at the same time, I had read Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, and there's a chapter in Think and Grow Rich called Sexual Transmutation. In the book, he gives no practical steps on how to transmute sexual power, but he talks about it, and a light bulb went off. It sounded like, okay, this is something I really want to know about. And through digging and doing some research and trying to find, okay, what is it? I discovered the path of sexual kung fu and tantra. Sexual kung fu comes from a Taoist tradition, and tantra, the lineage of tantra that I've experienced from India. And as a sexual assault survivor who's been in talk therapy before, inc- adding these aspects of tantra and adding the aspects of the somatic work helps really reconcile a lot of the pain and that experience, those sexual assault experiences that I had that talk therapy just couldn't do.
Okay. Okay.
So when I so to answer the next part of that question about how I got certified,
Mhm.
um, at first it was just personal practice with the jade egg and learning sexual kung fu and breath work. And it wasn't until about 3 years ago I did a really in-depth training, about six to 700 hours at the at Layla Martin. She's a Tantra instructor who has a school called VITA, the Vital Institute of, oh, don't get me to, I can't, it's an acronym, but don't get me to line. But it's it's the study of Tantra and neuroscience. So like the ancient Eastern, Western, excuse me, the Eastern traditions of energy healing, but combining it with some modern neuroscience. And that's where the somatics come in and some of the trauma release come in. So I did that training. Initially, I wanted to just learn about the jade egg, but the training encompassed so much about sex, love, and relationship and trauma healing, breath work, and some um, other energetic practices that I didn't know about. And so I did that training, and it was really like 18 months rather than a year. And that's how I got into this work and got certified.
Nice. That's really cool. Yeah, because I had never really heard of the tantric work and stuff like that. So when I looked at your website and everything, it was very interesting to see the different things that you do and just like the things that you've learned too. So for listeners who might be unaware of what your work entails, can you explain the benefits of releasing sexual trauma and some examples of what might be considered sexual trauma? Also, how does sexual trauma impact pleasure?
Sure. So what was the first part of that question? Let me take it
Um,
a step.
sorry. I know it's a big question. Can you explain the benefits of releasing sexual trauma and like
Okay, so
what are examples of sexual trauma?
sure, I'll start there. So sexual trauma, and it so our bodies, our nervous systems have a deep remembrance of events that have happened to us.
Mhm.
And trauma really is our body's way of recording what happened. And it doesn't necessarily have to be logical, it doesn't even have to be correct, like you're remembering it the correct way. It's just when an event happened, your response to the event is what is stored in the body. So typically we have these responses of freeze, fight, um, fleeing, or fawning. And when an event occurs, a traumatic event occurs, we kind of stay stuck in that mode. We either shut down, we freeze if something innocuous reminds us of it. We have a similar reaction to what our bodies did in the moment when the trauma occurred. And it's a means of protecting ourselves. So trauma isn't this, um, it isn't necessarily like, oh, it's just this burden, it's this wound. It's really the body's way of like, I got to protect because I don't know how else to keep danger from happening. Let me protect you. And so types of sexual trauma, or womb related trauma or yoni trauma that a lot of women can experience throughout their lives is sexual assault, molestation, incest, rape, of course. And these are some of the big T traumas, right? And then there's some little T traumas, like the heartbreaks. So they may not, let me not qualify those because those can be big too. Getting your heart broken can be very traumatic and cause shutdown in your body. Experiencing being grabbed or touched or when you didn't want to be touched, or um, being penetrated before your body is really ready. And over time, if you're having sex and you're penetrated before you're really ready to be, your pussy, your yoni can be like, I'm good, I'm going to shut down, and this can cause numbness and dryness or pain.
Mhm.
um, and their birth trauma, like you coming into the world could have been a traumatic event for both your mother and you. And these experiences are also recorded in the nervous system, and that it's those things come up a lot in the work that I do with women.
Mhm.
um, so you know in the realm of sexual trauma and womb trauma, because not all of these traumas that relate to our hearts, our breasts, our wombs, our yonis can will always be directly sexual. They can be just kind of like outside of the realm of sexual, but still um, traumatic,
Mhm.
can still cause those trauma responses. And so the benefit of releasing and integrating, and when I say release, I mean, I'm not saying that that the trauma will never ever come up again or the memories are completely gone. But what happens is you are able to integrate these experiences where you're not having the pain and the physical shutdown or the running or whatever the response is. You're able to alchemize those experiences and use them as fuel. Like your anger can become fuel, your grief can become cleansing.
Mhm.
Um, that pain can become a power. And so releasing it, the benefit of releasing these traumas from your body is that you experience stronger confidence. You're able to step into rooms with your head held high and express yourself more freely. You're able to set boundaries in relationships, or whether romantic or platonic. Saying no doesn't become burdensome anymore. It's empowering. You're able to magnetize opportunities towards you because you're no longer holding on to like these layers of things that are just like in the way. So alchemizing your trauma allows for you to become more magnetic, for you to, and when I say manifest, I'm using that as a broad term right now, but literally for things to come to you, it's best to have like free up some of this energy, because holding on to trauma takes so much energy out of your spirit, out of your body. It takes so much to hold on to. So by alchemizing that and letting that go, you're able to manifest the relationships that you truly deserve and that you really want, rather than settling. You're able to, if you're a creative, and this has been something that's been really important in my own creativity as a fiction writer. You're able to create more freely and you have less creative blocks. If you are looking for a new job and if you're afraid of like, okay, I don't know if I'm going to get rejected, for asking for what I want to get paid for, you become more confident and just asking for what you want. And then you have this, then I can't even believe I'm about to forget this. You have the best sex that you couldn't even imagine that you could have. You have all types of orgasms. The more that you free up these spaces in your body, the more that you kind of alchemize these things and you no longer have that stagnant energy. You're able to have ecstatic orgasms, G-spot orgasms, cervical orgasms, breast gasms, throat gasms. There's a gamut of them. So that that's the benefits of those are the benefits of releasing sexual trauma and integrating it. And I think that the next part of that question was how does sexual trauma impact sexual pleasure?
Yeah. Hmm.
And I touched on this a little bit, but um, these these traumas that we accumulate. Well, number one, if you've had a trauma, sometimes um, it kind of harms your sense of self, your sense of self-esteem, your ability to enforce boundaries. Your body kind of doesn't feel like it's yours. And so going forward in sexual relationships and um, or romantic relationships, period, you may conform to kind of, okay, I'll do whatever, you want, whatever you like, and my pleasure doesn't matter. And you may never ever say those words, but these are some of the things that I see and the clients that I've worked with, that I'm working with. There can be some shutdown in the body where there's literally physical pain in the pelvic floor. Can't you There's an inability to have anything penetrate or insert, which is, I always tell my clients, this is not a bad thing, this is a wonderful thing, because your body is communicating that, hey, I need something. And through coaching, through the one-on-one coaching that I do, we create like, okay, we go in and find like, what is it that your body needs to be able to be receptive. So those are some things that affect the sexual pleasure. I see a lot of women who are just numb, and we live in a culture where it's, a doctor will say it's perfectly acceptable that women don't experience pleasure internally, and that it's okay that a clit orgasm is fine. That's where it ends for most women. When the reality is, like, waking up the vagina, and it doesn't always have to be trauma. It just could be just a lack of, knowledge and just a lack of practice. But waking up the vagina internally, is something that every woman has access to and can experience all types of internal pleasure. So those are some of the things that, these traumatic experiences block us from. And I've already mentioned, like, this comes up a lot with women. They may come to me for sex, but we always get, because love and sex are, they go hand in hand. Um, they they feel uncomfortable with actually writing a love list and setting boundaries around it. So there's, a lot of women end up in these situationships, and it's just the settling because the their self-worth is not at the level that would tell them, like, no, I'm not gonna settle for this. So
Right.
that comes up a lot. And there's always like these, there's their mother wounds behind that, father wounds, ancestral stuff. Those things come up and in my work. And when I say it's holistic, like, we go and clear out all of it.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. I like that. So both men and women have the ability to use sexual energy to manifest for ourselves. Speaking as women, how can we use sexual energy in a positive way and to manifest? I know I speak about the power of manifestation on the podcast. Can you explain to listeners the power of sexual energy and manifestation?
Yeah. So I'm like, if you're manifesting without sexual energy, like, just go ahead and add it. It's like cooking without water or without fire. Like, just add, because sexual energy is procreative energy. It's our baseline. It is how we got here, how we were created. So using that energy to, if you're not making babies with it, it should be used to build your life, to create your life. And in the Taoist system, that's my lineage. The belief is that it's this life force energy that can be used, that you can circulate it throughout your entire body to heal your organs, um, and you can push it outside of your body um, to pull in, experiences that you want. And so, how can you use it in a positive way? I Be intentional. Well, let me backtrack a little bit. This is a brief sex manifestation practice that I'll give right now,
Okay.
that I'll offer right now. Step one, create a ritual space. So if it's, lighting a candle, lighting some sage, Palo Santo, whatever it is that creates a sacred space for you, create that ritual space to let the spirit world know, like, okay, I'm coming into spirit. I'm coming into a sacred space, and I'm not about to be frivolous with my sexual energy, which is also, it's yours to do whatever you want to do with, but you're being intentional at this moment. So set this ritual space. Two, be very clear on what it is that you want. Um, Very, very clear, because that's really important. Three, I like to, and this is optional, but I like to sort of consecrate it or give it up to, the highest power or to God, and ask that, whatever it is that I'm manifesting at the time, that it be for the good of all mankind. Um, that it would be, that it comes, that it serves the highest power, that it serves, God, or whatever it is that you want to, whatever it is that, you believe is the highest power. So sort of consecrating it. um or then I would visualize, the thing or the person or whatever it is that you want the experience, an in-depth visualization using all five senses. So what is it that you taste as a result of having this experience? What is it that you smell, see, touch? What am I looking with? I think I'm missing sight
Here,
now, or
yeah, yeah,
hearing, hearing.
saying.
What is it you hear? So bring all five senses in and experiencing it through that. And then going through a pleasure practice and pleasure yourself, or if you're with a partner, have sex, circulate that energy throughout your body using your breath. And when you come into a climax, visualize once again with the five senses, and just like visualize that going out of side of the crown of your head to the furthest part of the universe that you can imagine. And then as you're coming down from the orgasm, just allowing that all of that energy to come back through the crown chakra, circulate back through the body, and root you down into the earth. And so that's a sex manifestation practice. That's a abbreviated version of it that it has been. You can do this not even just like if it's manifesting confidence. I like to do that sometimes for like or intuition or some spiritual things, not just like the material things. I like to like do that for like peace, like
Yeah.
you can use this energy for anything, and it's so potent because it's our baseline. It's your divine essence. And what I love about being a woman and us having that energy is if you I like to look at the womb and the yoni as like a metaphor for like the black space, the universe, right? The canvas where everything manifests from. And that is the nature of the womb. Like on the physical plane, this is the basically the doorway between death and life. You can bring babies through, but also if that's not something you want to do, this cauldron, this space is for you to create the life that you truly desire. So yeah, that's sex magic.
Thank you. So you practice and are trained in yoga, breath work, and Reiki.
Reiki. Hmm.
Reiki. Can you, sorry. Can you explain how that influenced your discovery of the jade egg? Also, can you explain what the jade egg is and how it can be used in sexual energy?
Sure. So I am a certification whore. I love to learn, and I like to learn in like organized containers because I'm ADHD,
Okay.
and I need structure. But so yeah, my very first cert was a yoga cert, and I've done about three of those. And I used to take a belly dance class
Oh wow.
here in DC, and the studio is now closed, but the woman that taught it was my first jade egg teacher. And her background was sexual kung fu too, the Taoist lineage. And that I bought my first jade egg probably when I was in undergrad, and I couldn't fully grasp like what to do with it. So I would wear it. I'd practice yoga with it. I've taken like her workshops and learned a little bit about it, but didn't really develop a consistent practice until years later. And what prompted me to get consistent with my practice later is revisiting the sexual kung fu practices really. And I was just like, okay, I feel like I've graduated, if that makes any sense, from yoga. Like I want to know more. I want to play with energy more. I think yoga is a beautiful gateway into energy work because although in the West we like completely focus on the asana, those poses all help to align the chakras. And yoga's purpose, the asana aspect of it anyway, is to prepare the mind for meditation. Um, so what is a jade egg? It is a stone shaped like an egg made from jade, nephrite jade, because real jade is kind of it's it's a complicated thing. It's almost gone. And so the practice of the jade egg comes from the Taoist tradition in China, and it was only reserved for like courtesans or priestesses. Like it wasn't a practice that the masses of women did. Really, these women were using the jade egg. These priestesses, these courtesans were using it to cultivate their sexual energy to share with the emperor
Mm.
and to help him become stronger as an emperor, which is ding ding ding, like your sexual energy can like help build a man, or it's very sacred. You know, we have to be a little careful about where we're
Yeah.
sharing it. So the jade egg, why jade? Because it's a very hard stone and it's non-porous, and it has a lot of healing energies. That dark green, not only the jade, the color jade does resonate with the heart chakra, but also because of the dark color, it's a root chakra, it's a sacral chakra stone as well. And it's really good at absorbing energy and allowing it to be dumped back into the universe, to the earth, so that the earth can recycle it. Also, it has a lot of healing properties. Jade it's also known as a good luck stone. So it's a really, I'm a traditionalist, so I only use jade. I know that there's like amethyst and rose quartz and all kinds of things. The only other two I would recommend is clear quartz, rose quartz, and obsidian. Working with obsidian is a super potent stone. So I would only recommend obsidian for someone who's more advanced.
Mhm.
But I would not work with sodalite or some of these other stones because a lot of them have heavy metals and they're not meant to be placed internally.
Okay.
So traditionalist, I stick with jade. And so the purpose there, okay, on the I've just kind of discussed the metaphysics of it. It does absorb energy. It can be energetically cleansed easily. It also gives energy, gives healing energy. But on the physical aspect, it helps because of its size and its shape. It can help to tone and awaken the vaginal walls through specific practices. I've seen this happen throughout the years, and even in myself before I fully understood the whole system around the jade egg, which is sexual kung fu, which is several energetic practices and breath work. A lot of women think, oh, I'll just put it in my pussy and just go on about my day. And while there's some benefit to that, it's kind of like going to a gym and like picking up a weight and just walking around with it. Like
Mm.
you're not really intentional about how you're using it. You're not really getting the most function out of it when you do that. So spending the practices that I do, like I love a ritual, and so I offer my clients rituals like wound healing rituals with the jade egg, and those can be like 60 minutes, 70 minutes of deep breath work, deep shamanic healing. But then on the flip side, we're just like maintenance and um, cultivating sensitivity inside. 10-minute practice, 15-minute practice a day, 3 times a week is really enough.
Mhm.
And um, it it helps to open up those different parts of the vagina that are typically numb or painful. A lot of women feel pain around the cervix and aren't able to experience cervical orgasms, and the jade egg helps to unlock the tension around that area so that you can experience those types of orgasms. Um, Same with the G spot. It helps to like sensitize the entire vaginal canal so that you can experience a lot of pleasure. And then for a little bit more advanced, there's jade egg weightlifting, where you can tie a string. I always recommend a drilled jade egg that has holes so that you can tie a string and easily pull it out. But you can also tie a string. I don't have a picture of this anywhere. Well, what's the picture not necessary? But you can tie. I'll tie like a little bag of like some other crystals and do a yoni weightlifting exercise with that. And the benefits of that is strengthening the pelvic floor. Um, it also creates more sensation internally, and it's you're still using the breath. You're still waking up like your entire system. So that's a little bit more in the advanced, like vaginal weightlifting.
Yeah.
But that's one of the many possibilities with the jade egg. It is one of my favorite practices in this space, because it's such a deep self-care practice, and you don't have to force it. You can always be within consent with your body. If your body's not feeling, inserting a jade egg, that's fine. And you can still just do the energetic and breathwork practice that goes along with it. But yeah, so
Okay. Yeah, no, thank you. Because I wanted to know a little bit more. I've heard of jade egg, but I didn't really know too much about it. So that's a good explanation. Thank you. So you are an author as well. Can you share some of the work that you have written and what it's about? Also, how can these books help readers with sexual energy, health, and spirituality?
so it's funny. I almost feel like it's like a separate life, but it's not. They're all intertwined. So I'm also an urban fiction author,
Okay.
and I've published about 96 books in the last 10 years.
Wow, congrats.
Thank you. It's a lot of ratchet literature, some romance, some erotica, a poetry book. Um, and most of the books are under different pen names. And yeah, it's it's been one heck of a journey. And I have to say that like my sexual energy practices definitely have helped fuel my creativity so that I can keep churning them out. I don't know how they would help women with their sexual energy, because because it's it's funny because in the work of like working with sexual energy, I try to help women get out of fantasy and into their bodies
Mhm.
so that they can create the fantasy. But
Okay.
when I'm writing a romance book or urban book, I'm clearly just creating a fantasy so they can escape their bodies and go into the fantasy. And it's funny, in the last few years when I've been like, okay, I'm trying to transition out of that. I really want women to have the experiences that they daydream about rather than, you know, just having to read about them in fiction. But yeah, my main pen name is India Ray, and that's where the bulk of my books have been written under. And a lot of like one of my biggest titles is The Thought Next Door, for like that's that encompasses like what my pen name is about.
Okay. I definitely gotta check that out. So, okay, well, seriously, that's awesome though. That's really great that you've made so much, books, and I'm sure people love to read your work. So that's really great. Keep up with that. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So I'm trying to think. You kind of answered the other question that I had about like using our power and sexual energy.
Mhm.
But so you're located in DC, but you also say you're in Thailand too sometimes, right? What led
Yes.
you to Thailand, and how does it connect to the work that you do?
Oh, that's such a good question. So what led me to Thailand, um, and right now I'm in DC, but I'll be returning to Thailand soon because I'm not dealing with winter. But, um, one of my really good friends and spiritual advisors, he's my oracle. He moved there first, and he's like, "Cherae, you gotta come. You gotta come. You're gonna love it." So I was like, okay, I've been working online for all these years with the intention that I wanted to be a digital nomad, but I was always afraid to make the jump. So what really prompted it, I wanted to live a bit of a softer life, like work less. Um, it's inexpensive to live in Thailand, especially I was in the city Chiang Mai in the north, so it's really inexpensive there. And so I wanted a softer life. I wanted to be able to eat really good fruit and have a different experience, not experience winter. And while I haven't gone to his this garden yet, like his healing garden yet, the teacher who pretty much brought my lineage from the east to the west, Mantak Chia, his healing facility is in Chiang Mai, Thailand.
Okay.
And while I was there, I could never find a to study with him. I could never coordinate. Because he travels a lot. So I'm like, when I go back this time, I'm like, no, I want to meet him. But the my lineage of sexual kung fu and sexual Taoist practices, qigong, Mantak Chia is the like forefather of bringing these practices from the east to the west. And um, the teacher that I learned from, Layla, she learned from an instructor who was trained by him. So lineage is so important in tantra and Taoism. Even though I do dabble in neo tantra, I'm a traditionalist. I like lineage, and so that was another something else that like prompted me to want to live there, because I knew that I could. There was the opportunity to study with the master there, but then it's a Buddhist country, so there are temples everywhere, and they are actually living that life of, you know, the Buddha nature. And you know, violence is very low. And I've felt super safe. Like I could walk down the street and no one is catcalling, and I'm not afraid that I'm going to get robbed, or um, I can hang out at night, and you know, it's all good. So that was another thing that like really, yeah, it's safe. These people are living that, they're walking that Buddha life.
Mhm.
Um, Everywhere you turn, there's a Buddha shrine. There's a or an ancestral shrine, one of their ancestor shrines, or there's a temple. And so, seen some of the most beautiful temples I've ever seen in my life. And so that was another thing that kind of lured me there, and it's calling me back. Now that it's cold, I'm like, yeah, I'm good.
No,
Let
I
me
feel you
go
on
back.
that for sure. Okay, so as we wrap it up, can you just share with listeners where they can find you, like your website, your Instagram and stuff like that, and any closing remark that you might have?
Yes, yes. So I can be found on CheraeMabry.com, and that's CheraeMabry.com. And a list of my services are there. I can also be found on Instagram at the Cherae, Thecherae. I guess the Cherae. Yeah, that on IG. And I am only on those two platforms. Like I am not all over the place, but
Okay.
I do have two events coming up in November, two online events. One in November 1st, I have a class, online webinar called it's all about healing sexual trauma with pleasure. So it's about alchemizing trauma, and it's an introduction to it. So we won't go into, because it's also a group situation, I won't go into depth with individual trauma, but I will give some practices that can be done, and really break down how this works, with healing the with how to heal sexual trauma in that workshop. And on November 6th, I have an online workshop called Grip Goddess. And it's all about the Kegel dance, which is learning how to exercise your internal vaginal muscles so that you can give a hand job with your vagina so that you can experience more pleasure, and you can learn how to manipulate the different areas of your vagina. So you know, whether it's like twisting, squeezing, pulsing, just squeezing on one side or squeezing on the other, at the top, at the bottom, learning how to isolate those muscles. That workshop is on the 6th, and that one also includes some recorded practices that'll be sent right after the live workshop. So you can find all of that on my website. Well, it's not on my website yet. It's all on Eventbrite, but it'll be on my website and what am I trying to say, on Instagram.
Okay.
Those two workshops.
Okay, nice. So when I post the episode, I'm gonna put a link for your page too so that people can be able to find you.
Cool.
Okay, so thank you again for coming on Black Hippie Lounge. It was really great speaking with you and learning so much. I feel like I've learned a lot, and I'm sure the listeners will feel the same. So definitely keep doing the work that you're doing. We need that. And yeah, just congratulations again on everything that you've done.
All right. Thank you so much for having me, Chanel. Thank you. It was good speaking to you today.
You too.
All right.
Meditate, manifest, invest in you. Join me on my spiritual journey as I elevate myself and like-minded listeners to a higher level, mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thank you for listening. This is Black Hippie Lounge, and I am your host, Chanel.